Om Namah Shivaya. Today I will talk about Katha Upanishad. Katha Upanishad is a very detailed Upanishad in which several details have been mentioned about life and death and beyond. It is a very interesting Upanishad and it basically talks about a Katha which involves King Vahasrava, who wanted to attain heavenly rewards, for which he conducted a Visvajit sacrifice. He wanted to get heavenly rewards and go to heaven. His son was Nachiketa, who was only 12 years of age, but much more mature than his actual age of only 12 years. I am going to cut out a lot of details and other incidents mentioned in Katha Upanishad because it will become extremely long. So basically, I will summarize the Katha Upanishad for you in 3 basic points. Now, this sacrifice, which was for a heavenly reward made by King Vahasrava, involved a lot of charity to be given. So, he started distributing his cows, which were not very much of use and who had become old and worthless, to the different individuals for benefiting out of this yajna. His son Nachiketa said, if he gives such worthless cows as charity, then he may not get the reward which he is after. Hence, he should donate me also. So Nachiketa told his father, you should gift me away also. But Nachiketa's father got irritated, and after 2-3 times when Nachiketa kept reminding him about giving him also in this sacrifice to other people as rewards, his father became highly irritated and said, I give thee to Yama, the Lord of Death. So, at the end of the sacrifice, Nachiketa reminded him that he also had to be given to Yama, as promised by him. Thereafter, he was sent to the abode of death. Lord Yama was not present at the time, so Nachiketa waited for him in the abode of death for 3 days and 3 nights, without any food and water. When Yama returned, he was informed by his servants that this boy has been waiting for him for last 3 days. Now, as per Vedic philosophy, a guest is considered to be a representative of God, and he should be treated as such, with respect and with warmth, and all hospitality should be given to him. So, when Lord Yama returned, he found this boy waiting for him for 3 days without any food and water. So, Nachiketa said that my father has donated me to you. It is now up to you to what to do with me. So Lord Yama felt very much, kind of regretful and said, you are a Brahmin boy and I have made you wait for 3 days and 3 nights without any hospitality, without any food and water. So I will give you 3 boons. Whatever you desire, you can ask from me. So first boon Nachiketa asked was that may my father be free of anxious thoughts. he may lose all anger, become very tranquil and pacified, and he should accept me as his son. Yama replied, yes, it is good, and you have asked for this boon, it will be granted to you. The second boon Nachiketa asked was, tell me about fire sacrifice that leads to heaven, and also conducting fire sacrifice besides fulfilling 3 other duties, that is, study of Vedas, sacrifice, and giving of alms. This leads to freedom from birth and death. Lord Yama explained to Nachiketa in detail about how this sacrifice is conducted, how to lay the bricks, how to do the mantras, and Nachiketa faithfully repeated everything sincerely after Lord Yama. Yama was very impressed by Nachiketa's dedication and sincerity. Lord Yama said, fire is regarded as the foundation of all the world because it is the revealer of creation. It is fire which begets light, and this is the revealer of all creation in the universe. So, there is no doubt that fire sacrifice leads to freedom from birth and death, if it is conducted very sincerely. Lord Yama was so pleased with the answers of Nachiketa, and he, learning this fact so quickly, that Lord Yama told him that henceforth the fire sacrifice will be called Nachiketa sacrifice. Now, after this, the third boon which Nachiketa wanted to know is what becomes of man after death. This perplexed Lord Yama, who said, don't ask me this, ask for any other boon, long life, lot of riches, immortality, whatever you desire in life, becoming a ruler, wealth, maidens, elephants, horses. But Nachiketa did not deter from the third boon and wanted to know as to what becomes of a man after death. So Yama told him about the secret of death. He said, there are 2 paths which a man can follow. One path leads to Godward, and the other path leads to worldly pleasures. Now, worldly pleasures are perishable, just like the physical body, but the path which leads Godwards leads to spiritual bliss and freedom from the cycle of birth and rebirth. Now, both these paths confront man, and he has to choose carefully as to which path he wants to follow. Most of the individuals are attached to physical and perishable things, and therefore they come under the domain of death and rebirth. However, those who follow the spiritual path and the path which leads to God, they basically are able to transcend life. Now, as per the Vedic scriptures, no one can impart spiritual knowledge unless he has realization. What is realization? It means knowledge based on direct perception. So, it is the life which is illuminated which counts. Only an illuminated teacher can teach you about Atma or soul, for it is subtler than the subtle and very difficult to understand and to realize it. The mortal, through discrimination, realizes the subtle self. And if he realizes his subtle self, he rejoices, because that is the source of all joy. The scriptures give 3 stages in all spiritual attainment. Firstly, aspirant must hear the truth from an enlightened teacher. Secondly, he must also reflect on what he has heard from his enlightened teacher. And thirdly, with constant practice and discrimination, he should practice concentration and meditation to realize it directly by himself. This realization leads to fulfillment of every desire. Now, generally, the infinite cannot be bound by any word, but for a mortal being, it's difficult to understand the infinite without giving a name to it. So, the name of Om, A-U-M, Om has been given by the sages to the Lord. Om stands at the root of all languages. A is the mother sound, which is opening the throat. U is the sound when from the throat it comes to the lips. And M is the termination of all articulation as lips are closed. So Om is the root of all articulation in the world. It is the sound which is all-embracing significance, and it designates the absolute. The self is subtler than the subtle, and it is known to reside inside the body. It is basically achieved when both mind and body is under control, and it is beyond the intellect. All existence rests upon it. The Atma is effulgent. It is both active and inactive, moving and stationary. It sits still and is also traveling. It is the essence of our being. It is the all-pervading nature of the soul, which cannot be slain. Bodies are perishable, but soul, or the Atma, is indestructible. Now, the direct perception of God is only possible when the heart is pure and a person is spiritually awakened. Yama says that all spiritual qualities need to be developed in order to perceive the Atma. The Atma is also considered to be the lord of the chariot. Here, chariot means body, intellect is the driver, mind is the reins, and horses means our 5 senses. Discrimination is required, the mind has to be controlled, and the senses managed so that one is able to perceive our self, our Atma. In the journey of life, our mind and senses must be wholly under the control of our higher being. We need to use our discriminative faculty. Ordinary man is basically very much dull and distracted, and therefore is not able to realize his self, nor is he able to perceive his Atma. Yama says, immortality is a state of consciousness. Man clings to name and form or to perishable objects and is therefore not in touch with his inner self, his Atma, generally. Now, what dies? What dies is the form, the body. According to the Vedas, the first manifestation was Brahma. He existed before the evolution of the 5 elements: earth, air, water, fire, and ether. There is no difference between the creator and the created, but we are only 2 manifestations of the same energy. There is basically, as per the Vedic scriptures, in each man there is a Purusha residing within his body, basically in the middle of the body, and it is said Purusha, which is the size of a thumb, peculiarly resides in our hearts. Life current flows in the entire body, but heart is particularly considered to be the seat of all the life forces. Purusha is like a light without smoke. It is the Lord of the past and the present, and it continues to remain the same today and tomorrow. The effulgent nature of the soul is basically, it is enlightened and it is like a flame without any smoke. The human body is called a city with 11 gates, where the eternal unborn spirit dwells. These 11 gates are 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the navel, 2 lower apertures, and the imperceptible opening at the top of the head. In life, there is always the application of cause and effect to all forms of life. Thoughts and actions of the present life determines the future birth and environment. The subtle quality of life of ourself, although it is formless like air and water, yet it assumes different shapes according to the form in which it dwells. Yoga basically means to unite or join the lower self with the higher self. When the 5 organs of perception become still together with the mind and the intellect ceases to be active, that is called the highest state of consciousness. So Katha Upanishad basically teaches us about life and what happens after life. It basically also means karma. What we sow today, we reap tomorrow. How we can be spiritually awakened, how we can realize the God and the Atma or the self within is also elaborately discussed in the Katha Upanishad. I have basically given a small viewpoint summary of the Katha Upanishad. It is much more in detail which can be studied by the individuals who are interested in it. But this is basically our Hindu philosophy in which the Upanishad talks about life in the world and life beyond. So it is very important to choose the path which we are taking in life to be spiritually awakened and to lead towards God. Thank you for watching this video.